So the question was on water. Where do we stand on water?
That situation going on south is serious.
Okay. Can I?
Sure. Yeah.
Anything over a 1 horsepower submersible pump has to have a meter on it and report it every month. So I think that they're average right now.
That is correct. So that's when the water board was there again. That took a vote of the people, and they had their own what do you call it, tax on the books. They have their own, like the river authority does, like the county, the city, is cool. So that was why we built the water board, the water district was for that reason. And there again, pat them on the back. Lately, the last several years, they got grants, and we've drilled a water well in La Bahia area, Fannin, Burkclair. I don't think Wasatch has one yet, but I think the plans are maybe. No, okay.
There's one fallacy to the water board. They have no enforcement power. None whatsoever.
Enforcement.
I want to go out here and drill another well.
What?
Not even tell them they can't.
Well, that's true.
Hammer on the drilling.
Yeah,
Property owner that I paid for it, they can't do that.
that's true.
And they can't stop me from this water.
But if they brought a rig in to drill a water well that would provide for our city, I think people would know about it.
But the dealing corpus, that's their own fault.
That's their own fault. That's their own fault.
Desalinization for a long time, and they sat on their hands and didn't do anything.
And that's why, there again, did a great job of putting these water wells in. The city was I think in a bind several years ago where they had some water well problems, and they finally fixed them. They just weren't spending the money and the maintenance on these. As far as the court, yes, if I get in there, it's going to be like when I first got in. You're going to wear a coat and tie because you're going to be respectful to the people of Goliad because we are their employees. All the taxpayers are our bosses. So we're going to follow parliamentary procedure. And if we can't figure it out, maybe we'll invite the FFA or 4-H youth up there to do a mock meeting and teach us some of this. But they do teach it in our training when you first get in the. So yes, we got to have the county lawyer. We got to have a county lawyer, not one from Victoria. We have a county lawyer, and the treasurer. Yes, everybody needs to be there, and the auditor. So I'm sorry.
Yeah. So addressing the commissioner's court thing, 100% agree with you. They're a big part of this, right? And there needs to be more than just being at commissioner's court. Weekly department head meetings to go through these things every single week, right? We call them staff meetings or battle update briefings in the Army, right? That's a weekly occurrence to know what's going on because again, the numbers are the most important thing. We should not, in our budget, close the fiscal year on October 1 and not know the money we spent for 4 or 5 months later till the external audit is done, right? The audit needs to be tight the whole way through. Do we have a pretty good idea and it's just fine-tuned, right? And the treasurer needs to keep the money, the data, in real time, day to day and week to week, right? And I'll go a step further with you as far as the dress code. That should be a county policy across the board. Etiquette and the way you look, the appearance you put forward is very important, right? We know everyone's got to be in shirt and tie, but we should be small business casual. People shouldn't be in there in a messed up t-shirt and hoodies, whatever you want, and doing that stuff. Everybody, and I would put to the commissioner's court, we need to be small business casual every single day, right? Collared shirt, you can wear jeans, clean pants, all that kind of stuff. That's the way we should go as far as that stuff is concerned. I think everyone's in agreement on that, right? Speaking of water, anybody's heard me talk, super important, all right? If anybody who thinks water's not important, water's not an issue, I'm telling you now, you're hearing it from me, you are wrong. Water is a huge issue in our nation and literally right up the road from us, all the way around us. Water is very slippery, and I had the treasurer, Pete Elizondo, and I had a lunch with Wilford Korth, who at the time was the president of the Water Conservation Board and was just stepping down to go to Sarah, right? And he explained the ins and outs on it, right? And TCEQ for Texas is the overall authority, right? And there's a ton of gray areas because on your land, you're entitled to have water in your water well, right? And you're entitled to pump a certain amount of water, right? I think I think the exact number is 1 acre foot. So if you are a major landowner and have 20,000 acres, that is a huge amount of water. I don't know the legality of being able to sell that if you have the capacity to be able to pump that. So that's something we need to look into first and foremost. I was at the water board meeting on Monday, and they passed some resolutions to try and slow it down right now to fill the gap, and they are seeking counsel and sending bids out to get a water attorney in to represent us to try to fight that, right? Beyond that, conservation is a big deal, right? If you do the data and you do the analytics, that's one thing about our water board is a lot of the water boards in surrounding counties are modeled after Goliad County. Art Doman really started this water conservation board and pushed it to where they're at today, right? The big problems is they've done some of the studies. Enough water is not making it below ground far enough to get to the aquifers, right? How do we address that? And I don't know the legality behind this. We should look into this. But clearing brush and tilling up land is obviously going to be a big portion of that, right? So can we grandfather somebody in and let them have the ag exemption for just tilling the land up so the water can get lower as opposed to having to run cows on it? That is a big benefit to us. If you can show me the data that only 50% of the water is now of rainfall is making it to the aquifers or making it deep enough, I don't see why we wouldn't pass that resolution. Every little bit that could help that get the water down low, we need that because we're not getting enough rain. So we need that water to get as low as it can and hit those levels, right? But in conservation of the water, we do have, all right? I'm not anti-splash pad for when that makes sense. But if we can't afford it, water or financially, it doesn't make sense to do, right? And I have not seen the final drawings. I don't know if it's a recirculation system. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm not sure how much the city uses. But if they are close to using their max capacity, putting in a splash pad does not make sense from a water resource standpoint, right? If their budget is tight, from a financial standpoint, putting in a splash pad does not make sense, right? So conservation is important. The data on how we're getting the water is important, and then protecting the resources is very important, right? So water is something we should all be talking about. It is literally up the road. $12 million emergency bond for Beeville to drill a well. Huge, huge, huge issue for us.